You got to be kidding me. Pylon walls, mass oracles, oh gosh, cannon rushes. You can't have a serious uncreative StarCraft players without this person, Haas. When you're watching Haas's games, it's like you're not even watching StarCraft. This Taiwanese Protoss player turns the game on its head, taking on top players by creating strange scenarios for them to have to play in, filled with as much chaos as possible, where he feels comfortable. Players, casters, fan, none of us knows what he'll pull off next match. Heck, I don't even think he knows. Well, let's ask him and find out how to just play like Haas. So here we are for the last episode of this series, and I am really excited to have my next and last guest, the one and the only Haas. Haas, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody.
So why don't we get right into it? Haas, you've been a StarCraft player since you were 16, and what was it like to hit a skill barrier in that game for you?
So I started off playing this game because of interest, and after I have played 1 or 2 years, I realized I can become a professional player, and so after that, I kind of just play this game to earn money.
A lot of players or a lot of fans see you, Haas, as someone who's very creative in how you play. Is that something you do deliberately? Do you do that on purpose?
Right. So because me personally, I don't watch matches, so I will not follow exactly the strategies that some professional players deploy in a match, because I would just imitate some of their, let's say, a part of the game, a strategy that I really like, but I will not completely copy it. I would change it and adapt to it, and so so a lot of strategies I deployed during the game will come up completely by myself.
What is the process of coming up with your own strategies? Do you study your own games, or do you maybe use paper to design strategies? How do you come up with your own unique strategies?
Since I have not been practicing recently, so a lot of strategies I used actually came from meditation. I just mapped them in my mind. Some strategies that seems impossible to be used in a real game, but I would just try to map them in my mind, and that's how I got creative.
Are you aware at how much Western fans love how unusual your strategies are?
I can only say some people like me and some people don't.
When you're playing in a tournament, what is the difference of your style when you play against Koreans versus Europeans or North Americans?
So when I play against players from Europe or North America, because there's ping, the problem of ping, high ping, I prefer to use units that requires less skill. Whereas when I play with Korean players, the strategies I use are pretty diversity.
Before you go to a tournament, how do you keep your strategies from other players knowing what you're going to do? Because many players are prepared that you're going to do something unusual, something strange in your games. How do you keep one step ahead of your opponents with your type of strategies?
Well, it depends on the amount of practicing prior to the game. If I have time to do a lot of practicing, then I can come up with multiple strategies and try to come up with some strategy that can counter the one that I assume my opponent will use.
So for big tournaments, like the large WCS tournaments, do you prepare for your opponents? Do you watch their replays or study them? How do you counter them after you studied their strategies?
Yep, this is hard to say because I will use different strategies against different opponents. So I will design a specific strategy specific to which component I'm against.
Out of your specific strategies you have designed, what is the one that you remember the most, the hardest to design?
应该是今年的那个 IEN 打
I think the hardest one is this year in a match against Cure. So the strategies I designed, I thought it's going to work for them. I thought I can win by following this design, but because their structure is built very creatively, and so it was a tough game.
How do you practice? What is your routine before a big tournament? How do you get into the right mental space before a big tournament?
通常都是只有打天梯而已，因为主要是
Well, I'll normally just practice by playing matches because I don't have team members to play with me, to practice with me.
准备的话都是自己打天梯做准备。通常
Right, so I don't have specific mental preparation before matches. I'll just play how I normally play.
You did a strategy a long time ago where you put up a wall of pylons. Do you think of these ahead of time, or do you come up with them on the spot?
我那个是很久以前参考一个韩国的
Yeah, I learned that from a Korean player. Sorry, I can't remember who exactly that is, because he used to build a wall of pylon and also 2 teleport store behind the pylon. So yeah, I found that pretty interesting, and I just used that in the game.
我只是稍微变化一下那个改的方法而已。
Are there other players, professional players, that you learn from to build your strategies? And who are they?
最一开始的是
Yes, I did learn from Hero,
大 Hero，
and yeah, that's probably the only player I learned from.
Out of the North American, Korean, and European players, which player plays similar to you, and how?
Players from
欧美吗？
Europe and North America.
Not Korea.
The way I play is similar to Parting.
Do you find being in Taiwan difficult to compete on the world stage against other players of Korea and Europe in terms of prize money and infrastructure? And how do you get around that? How do you keep up with them?
这个其实还蛮简单，你就
Well, this is simple. I think if you are not earning enough prize money, it means your rank is not high enough. So you just have to practice to promote your rank.
要再更努力一点，其实就是这样。
What advice would you give someone who wants to play like Haas, to play like you? What advice would you give somebody starting today in StarCraft?
Well, my advice is you can't copy or imitate other players all the time. You have to come up with your own strategy and your unique way of playing.
Would you recommend the average player to try to play like that? Or is the path too hard?
I don't think this path is hard because I don't really like to put a lot of skills in the strategies, and my way of playing this game is quite simple, I think.
What has been the largest downside of playing the way you do?
最大的缺点就是
The way I use this kind of way of playing is because I don't have a lot of practice, so I would come up with some cheese strategies to make my opponent unexpected of what my next move is. So I would say if you have the opportunity to have more practice, then practice more.
那我觉得缺点是很少的。
Do you think that you spend more time preparing, or do you come up with the strategies right into the game? Do you just improvise? Do you improvise, or do you plan ahead more?
我觉得这两种都有。
I think both are useful, but I would prefer to improvise during the game because a lot of times the plan you prepared, the strategy you prepared prior to the game doesn't really work, so you have to improvise against your
在
opponent.
比赛中做一下应对，这样会比较好一点。
Outside of StarCraft, do you do anything that helps you visualize your strategy? Do you play an instrument? Do you maybe draw? Anything that is creative that helps your mind expand more when you're playing StarCraft?
应该就只有玩
Yeah, I think I do get some inspiration from other games, but not a lot. So I think if you really want to improve your skill in StarCraft this game, you should spend more time on this game.
想要变强的话，还是专心练习星海会比较好一点。
What about your anime? Your love of anime? Does that help you with StarCraft in any way?
可能心理上
Yeah,
会有一点
probably it gave me some mental buff.
I love that answer. Okay. So Haas, who would you like to shout out from fans? Who would you like to say thank you for helping you get to where you are in the game?
这也要蛮感谢就是身边的朋友。
I want to shout out to my friends because there's a lot of pressure from tournament, so I want to thank them for playing games with me and give me advices, even though they're not pro gamers, but their company means a lot to me, and I can't get where I am today without them.
I ask all my guests this when they're on my show. If you could change one thing about the game, anything, that could be in-game, it could be about Blizzard, it could be about the community. If you can change one thing, what would you change?
那我可以改变
So that change is I will start playing Zergs.
我玩的是虫族。
That's a good change. I like it. All right, thank you so much, Haas, for being my guest. I really appreciate you being here and giving me your time.
Thank you.